Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Digital Lounge. It's Tuesday, the 27th of February, 2024. Today, damp, mould, tenants feeling unheard. We've all heard stories of the housing sector struggling with the cost of living crisis and responding to customers. Today, we ask how a digital contact centre might be able to help on the Digital Lounge. Yes, welcome. Joining me today, we've got Ollie Sinclair. Hi, Ollie. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
Hello, Mark. Yes, very, very good. You?
Yes, very good. Very good. Thank you. And also joining today, I'll add you to the stage for the first time, Kira McMillan. How you doing, Kira? Nice
Hello,
to
I'm
join
good,
us.
thank you. Thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So we're talking today about the digital contact center, specifically for housing. I suppose first of all, Kira, well, both of you, you work very closely with the housing sector. I mean, could you give us a sense of some of the challenges the sector's facing, and then we can kind of come on to how what a digital contact center is and how it might be able to help. Kira, if I can
Yeah,
turn to you first.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's customer expectations.
Mm.
Customers now want to be able to contact you when they want and in methods that they choose and are convenient for them. So, if we think around the generational shift with smartphones, being able to WhatsApp, to Facebook, to message, social media, to be able to email, but also balancing that with the wider needs of people who still like to phone and speak to somebody, who like to
Mm.
email. So all of these channels of communications are now what customers are expecting. So how does the organization ultimately manage and deal with that? And it's about how you're able to respond to those. But also, one of the challenges is managing that back end, because if you've got all these different communication channels coming in, historically it's very much a contact center and you've got people that are answering phones, but you've now got emails and WhatsApps and text messages and all these other requests coming in. How do you start to manage that? So it's quite a big challenge for housing associations and anybody working within a housing to be able to manage that. And I don't know, Ollie, if you've got anything to add to those.
Yeah, absolutely. And it very much is along those lines. And if you think about, the traditional contact center of a housing association, primarily dealing with things over the phone. Well, there's going to, the customers expect a level of engagement with them, and to choose, as what Kira said, choose the channel in which they're going to engage in. And what the
Mm.
housing association needs to do is make sure that there's still that consistency of message, that consistency of being able to help them out in whatever channel they're trying to engage the housing association with. So yeah.
And I'm assuming over the course of a conversation, it might be a phone call coming in, but then they might be responding later on email, and it's having that joined up platform. I'm guessing is what we're saying. Is it, Kira?
Yeah, and I think it leads to your question about what is the digital contact center.
Mm.
And moving on to that part,
Yeah.
is that is a solution, a cloud-based solution, a Microsoft solution, that can solve those challenges. It's that single platform. It's a way in which organizations can handle all of those customer communications in ways that are the most efficient for them as an organization, but most importantly are providing almost that seamless customer service. So as we've pointed out there, if a customer maybe starts with a message or a text message or an email but then phones up, you need to be able to resolve that customer's query there and then. So being able to have it all within one place and being able to provide that seamless service, whichever communication channel that they've come into, is fundamentally, from a non-technical position, what the digital contact center platform is trying to do. It's there to bring all of that channels together to allow you to provide that seamless customer experience, to be able to also personalize that experience. So accepting that you understand the customer's expectations, the way in which they want to be communicated with, and that you're able to respond back in the way in which they want that to be personalized, and to have all of that within one place to be able to manage that consistently, which is fundamentally that almost one-stop shop. It's that one platform
Mm,
that brings all of that in together to allow you to manage it. And that's probably the non-technical speak about what it is.
mm. And I suppose, that this is constantly evolving, as we know, isn't it? We talk about WhatsApp today and Threads tomorrow, and probably some other platform next week. Ollie, clearly the technology needs to be flexible behind it, but could you tell us a little bit about that technology and how we can make that happen?
Yeah, sure. So the technology, that Microsoft have come up with this term around the Microsoft Digital Contact Center, but the technologies that's actually involved and the foundational parts of this have been around and for quite a while, and they're quite tried and tested, which is really good. But what Microsoft have done is combined all of these products together as sort of one sort of digital offering. And the products really are Dynamics 365, which is a suite of modules that sit on top of at the Power Platform, specifically around customer service. No surprise, if we're talking about the contact center, and that technology has been around for a long, long time, and it's a very, very mature case management. Customer service sort of offering and product. And what they've done on top of that, they've integrated some really smart elements like Azure communication services, which allows the telephony to be integrated into that product set. With also ACS, which is communication services. Teams is based on ACS, so you've actually got the collaboration element of the contact center being surfaced by Teams and the collaboration of Teams. But you've also got omni-channel capabilities. So Dynamics 365 for omni-channel sort of sits on top of customer services, and that allows you to integrate the voice, the email, the chat, the SMS, the social media channels, and custom channels into this one digital contact center. And really, all of this is on the foundation of the Power Platform. So you've got a lot of extensibility and customization available for you from a low code perspective, and also the given security and compliance element of a Microsoft Digital product, where you've got the robust security framework, which allows you to adhere to things like GDPR and advanced threat protection, those sort of elements as well. So if you add all of these building blocks together, Microsoft have painted this picture of actually a very mature digital contact center that
Mm.
enterprise level organizations can absolutely adopt.
Right, I see. And I'm guessing there's a lot with any contact center. There's a lot of sort of the frequently asked questions and frequent similar requests. We've talked a lot on previous shows about AI and automation. I'm guessing that there's going to be an element to that with this solution as well. Is there, Ollie?
Huge, huge. I mean, it really
Okay.
is, becoming pretty much foundational to everything we're doing within the Power Platform and within the Microsoft Business applications, which this is one of. And specifically around the digital contact center, you really are, relying on AI for things like automated customer interactions. So from machine learning or AI to understand common inquiries, reducing the need for sort of human interventions for those relatively straightforward interactions. So if you had a virtual agent on your website, you would actually be able to train that virtual agent to be able to answer the very straightforward questions that potentially some contact centers get bogged down with lots and lots of phone
Mm,
calls that can be answered really, really simply. It means that your agents are actually more focused on those complex inquiries that maybe a simple answer isn't going to is going to fit the bill really. You've got personalized customer experience, and that's really being able to understand from a customer's intent, using some of the AI features. That's really, really useful. You're enhancing the operational efficiency as well, and as well as sort of having the ability to sort of scale flexibly. If you've got a good understanding of the analytics of the calls coming in, the types of calls, the different channels, you can then start to be very proactive with where your resources need to concentrate on. And this is all, bringing all of the AI elements of Dynamics 365, the Power Platform, and dare I say it, Copilot, all into the mix. And what's really, really useful is because we've got these very mature building blocks that we've got within the digital contact center, bringing on things like Copilot and these AI elements just seem to interweave into these products and become extremely efficient.
Right. And Kira, another element with customer service these days is self serve portals, that kind of thing. I'm assuming that's an element that housing can introduce with this platform as well, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Self-service is a big driver, and part of that is that customers want to be able to, as I said at the beginning, want to be able to request a service and follow that service request all the way through at a time that suits them in a way that suits them. So the platform itself can sit with a portal, so you can have that whole customer account where they can go in and see their information about themselves. They can track cases, but they can also go in and report things like a repair. So you mentioned damp and mold earlier. So it might be of an evening somebody wants to report that they need somebody to come out and see it. They can go into the portal and they're able to log that request and be able to get an appointment doing that all themselves. But what that does is that feeds into the platform. So the next day they may choose to phone up, and actually someone in the contact center can see that they've already, through the portal, maybe gone in and made that request, and they can see what the status is of that. And both customer and the agent on the customer center is able to see the same thing. But the other thing around that self-service is also around customers being able to help themselves, not just through a portal, but as Ollie's already said, through that sort of virtual agent, frequently asked questions, being able to go through and actually, whatever the question is that they are looking for the answer for, they don't necessarily need to speak to a person. What that does mean then is that where people do need to speak to a person, where they may be more vulnerable or they've got a sensitive issue or something that they really do need to talk to somebody about, the customer services team are able to spend more time and support that person, because the person that wanted to self-serve has been able to get the answer that they required. And we've seen this when lots of people have introduced customer portals, but actually what's happened is all that it's done is because they haven't invested the time, or they haven't been able to, as Ollie mentioned, about train some of this new technology to understand and know the knowledge to be able to answer the questions.
Mm,
Customers have failed at taking their query all the way through in a tradition, what we would see as a self-serve, and
mm,
actually had to stop halfway through and then phone up. So again, being able to embrace this technology now with all the advancements that have been made to be able to help customers to be able to self-serve, whether it's through the portal, whether it's through using a virtual agent or any of the other tools, to be able to really complete the task start to finish. And that's where this will help. But if they're not able to, being able to phone up, because we're never going to remove the need for a phone. And I think that is always going to be at the heart of everything that we do. But when they do phone up, that they're not having to repeat themselves about all the steps that they've done and where they've put it and who they told, and that they sent a text message and that they tried to
mm,
leave an answer message, because all of that data, which fundamentally this is, it's all about bringing that data into that one place so that you're able to see within that one platform everything that's happened, and the customer doesn't need to repeat themselves, and that if they haven't been able to fully self-serve, and the person in the customer contact center is able to resolve that issue.
mm. And I don't imagine it's about empowering the agent as well, isn't it? To be able to offer an intelligent response. How can the system help as somebody in that situation, give them that power at that moment of truth?
Yeah, I think absolutely. If you talk to anybody that works in a customer center or a customer hub, and the various different terms that it's called, their one big desire is to be able to um, respond to that customer, get it right first time and give them the right answer and be able to deal with that inquiry so that the customer hasn't got to come back. The only way they're going to be able to do that completely is if they've got everything in one place, because we've seen, and if you talk to many organizations, the biggest issue from that contact center person is that they've got multiple systems, multiple places to go. They're trying to deliver that service, that good quality service, but they're not able to because of information being in so many places. So I think it empowers those call handlers by bringing everything into one place. I think what this platform also does is it kind of really empowers them with what you might call sort of smart help, because actually the system is starting to give prompts and can pull knowledge articles and can pull information from lots of other places to be able to help them with the response that they need to give to the customer, because there is so many different inquiries that come in, and whilst they can have as many training sessions and all the bibles in the world to be able to answer the question and different policies and procedures, actually this system now, with a lot of the automation and the AI that we've talked about, is able to almost give that sort of smart help to them to make sure that while they're talking to the customer, they're able to be able to have all that information to hand that they may need and be able to give that back to the customer. I think it also really helps them keep on track of their work. So it's a really, whilst they might have just come off a phone call, and they need to do maybe the wrap up notes, or they need to put any further tasks on, it really allows them to do all of that within the one place. So again, it is back to that kind of everything in one place. I think as well, just where it is really key is around that sort of teamwork as well.
Mm.
So Ollie mentioned a little bit about some of the wider technologies that this is all sort of part of, and we know the Microsoft stack has got lots of different applications within it. But quite often when you are on a call with a customer, the worst thing that you want to do is say, I can't help you, or the customer says, I want to speak to your manager, because they feel they're not getting anywhere. Actually, by having this sort of platform, you can collaborate as a team. So if you are needing a little bit of support on a call with a customer, you don't know the answer, or maybe the customer is becoming frustrated with you, you're able to bring in someone else from within your team, almost virtually, with minimal effort, to be able to try and help with that particular call or conversation. And that also acts as a bit of a learning as well for team members in the contact center, because they're always wanting to self improve and learn. And again, through some of the AI around how they've dealt with calls, how the call started, how the call ended, where there are any suggestions for their own learning and being able to improve, then that will prompt and that will send information about that as well. So I think it
Mm.
really does empower those colleagues at the front end, because what they want to do is deliver that excellent customer service. And by having something like the digital contact center and having all these different sort of benefits to it, will allow them to do that.
Brilliant. And again, we've touched on this on a previous show, Ollie. There's got to be an awful lot of data that this whole platform is pulling together. What kind of insights can a housing provider draw from to improve how they operate from this? And I'm assuming there's the security around that as well.
Yeah, it's a good point mentioning the security on that sort of that final element of that question mark, because I think that is really important. You're dead right. There can be a lot of data that can be potentially flying around these systems, and you need to guarantee the safety and security of that data. It's a lot easier because it's all in effectively one system, but you're using building blocks. But fundamentally, even from a data encryption perspective, the data, in transit and in rest are all encrypted when you've got, the use of Dataverse, and the fact that the compliance and regulations that Microsoft are responsible for. You do have the ability to build in data protection, regulation in there from a GDPR perspective. Um, the fact that you've got access and control and on authentication. So you've got multi-factor authentication. It utilizes those specific access controls so that you can be sure that the data isn't going anywhere else or isn't being accessed by people that shouldn't. But when it comes to using those data insights, and this is a crazy word, so hopefully I'll get it right. But there you go. Anonymization, basically, pseudo anonymization is effectively, removing and replacing personal information
Yeah.
from those data sets before you're actually then starting to use the insights. But once you have those insights, there's a lot of advanced analytics that can go into leveraging a lot of this data. And you can get a lot of predictive analytics. You can get a lot of intents. You can really go to town on a lot of different areas that will allow you to really target your customers in a specific way, update your knowledge base articles in a specific way, and fundamentally change the way in which you are communicating with your customers, because the data has fed back the successful ways of doing it and the not so successful ways of doing it based on the information, the case resolution statuses, the time in which agents are listening and not
Mm.
listening and speaking, and being able to coach through those different areas all depends on this data, these insights coming in, but again, in a secure way so that you can maximize the use of it without risking any security.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's impressive. I could imagine all kinds of ways in which you could leverage that. Um, okay. So I know you're both speaking to a lot of housing associations already, and we're working with a number of them, of course. But what are some of the? And I'll turn to you first, Kira, if I may. What are some of the misconceptions that you get when you're speaking to somebody for the first time about introducing this kind of platform?
Well, I think the biggest one that always comes up is around the telephony system. So we've got a
Okay.
telephony system, it's in place. Do we need this? How will it work? Because fundamentally, the telephony system is the core of their
Mm,
business. Even if they've implemented Dynamics, they still have a telephony system, and the their fear is that this won't work with it. It's not going to work with it, and there are lots of other reasons why. That's a big one. Is it won't work? And I think in a non-technical view, it will. And it is the age old. The Microsoft platforms will integrate with anything, and I think the digital contact platform accepts that people will have telephony systems already in place, and it's
mm,
got the ability to bring that in to the digital contact center. And I think that's one of the key other points is not just telephony, but is that all sounds great, Kira, but we've got all these other systems. So how's it going to feed into that?
yeah.
Well, it does.
Mm.
It can sit on top of the other systems, and I'm sure Ollie can give a far more a technical explanation around that, other than Kira says it can do. Um, but it does, and I think just like I suppose the second point, and I'll let Ollie pick up on that one is you know, one of the common things is it's only for enterprise. This is an enterprise system, and it's not. There are elements of the digital contact center platform that you can start to build up iteratively. And if you've
Mm.
already got Dynamics, and Ollie's mentioned a number of the different solutions, but if you've already got that, this is almost a seamless step to be able to start to bring together all the systems that you've got, bearing in mind that customers are going to be contacting you through multiple different places. But it isn't a massive big bang only for enterprise customers. It can be a way of starting on that journey. And I think people are a bit scared, certainly in the sector, is they know that they need to be offering these other channels of communication because that's what customers are expecting. But the worry is how we going to manage it. And I think just lastly, one of the things around the barriers is that's great, Kira. It all sounds brilliant, but am I now going to need a team that manage the phones, a team that manage emails, a team that manages WhatsApps and text messages and emails?
Mm.
Is it one platform, but I need all these different teams? And I think the answer to that is no, because one of the nice things around this is that it gives you that flexibility to be able to use your team and to be able to divert them to the channels of communications as the trends get increased or dropped. So we know a Monday morning is always extremely busy on the phones. So it might be that actually you've got more of that customer team looking at the phone channel, but you can still at the same time, if you have a dip, have the channels all coming into the same place and be able to move people and switch them to be able to look at maybe text messages or WhatsApps or the emails or whatever else is coming in. So you've got that real flexibility of within the core team being able to move people to that channels of the communications and indeed look at two. So all of that is kind of where the barrier is. I need all these teams, but you don't. And I think that the telephony is probably one of the big ones, because a lot of the housing associations will almost and certainly historically have tendered for a telephony system and then looked at a CRM system. And actually, what this is giving you the option is that, those more traditional ways is actually looking at a whole almost contact platform. So, Ollie, I don't
Mm.
know whether you can just kind of
Yeah.
just elaborate on that technical side.
Yeah, sure. So quite recently, last year, really saw the big sort of big changes, certainly in the UK, for ACS, as your communication services, actually having enough features and functionality that have been released that are not in preview, that actually make this telephony element actually work. So
Mm.
because of those advancements in terms of the Azure offerings around telephony, you actually now, it can be a complete service that you don't have to rely. You don't have to rely
Mm.
on third parties getting you there from a telephony perspective. That's not to say if you are happy with your telephony provider and you do have a very good relationship that you can't utilize elements. Just what Kira was saying, you can utilize different elements of the contact center and speak to your partner to work out what where the boundaries would be between the telephony
Mm.
provider and your contact center or your omni-channel engagement. But yeah, absolutely, the ACS has come in leaps and bounds in terms of the features that are now available across the regions and not just the US, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's a real big part of it. I think some of the other, the standard misconceptions around implementing the digital contact center, you know, it is effectively a bit of digital transformation. Certainly, if you've not got digital elements that are running within your systems at the moment, and therefore you've got to remember that it's not just about the technology. Everything that we are talking about here affects people within the contact center, managers, change, and the
Mm.
operating model of the business itself. So
Mm.
making sure that there is appropriate amount of time and effort, yes, to look at the technology and get the right answers and understand a roadmap of implementation, but just making sure that the people side and the process side is also supported in that transformation is
Mm.
absolutely huge. I think another one which people are starting to get wary of is around will this will complete automation replace human agents, and are we just going to am I just expecting my customers to have a bot at the end of a phone and nothing else? And it is a bit of a common misconception that you can't automate everything, but what you
Mm.
can do is get to those quick and easy answers that technology can provide really, really quickly, so that you can do more with the human interaction with the ones that are complex, and it gives those agents the time, the breathing space to get some of that stuff done.
Yeah.
And fundamentally it becomes more of a personal service, because you are utilizing the technology to target in the right way.
Yeah. Thank you, Ollie. And I think, Kira, I mean, I'd imagine in the housing sector, there's some really complicated issues that they're having to deal with, some very challenging circumstances for people. But it sounds like this can really help with customer satisfaction and deal with some of those sensitive issues effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the personalized customer interactions is key, really, and I think the AI and the analytics being able to bring together the history of that customer's interactions, the sentiments of their interactions, what's been happening, even if it's over a month or a couple of days, to be able to have that full picture, to be able to really give that personalized response. So, for example, if somebody's phoning up around a complaint or a dissatisfaction, they don't want to hear the same response that they got yesterday from somebody, because they're not happy with that. But that person that's maybe answered the call, if they don't know what happened yesterday, how the call ended, what that sentiment was, if they could see that that customer's been unhappy the last 4 or 5 times they've called, then actually it's doing something different and being really able to personalize that experience, which is again back to that sort of satisfaction around customers being able to use whatever channel that they want to be able to work with their landlord at a time that suits them. And we can't all have humans 24 hours a day in all organizations, so to be able to use some of that technology to be able to support with some of those maybe less urgent, or where they need more support calls, and get the information they want when they need it, it is massively going to increase customer satisfaction. And I think the key thing ultimately is customers want to get a response faster.
Mm.
Whichever method that they come through, they want a faster response. And I think through a lot of what the automation and the AI and being able to give more time to customer service teams to deal with the complex cases, they are going to be able to respond faster. So people aren't going to be waiting longer, those that need the support, and those that want an answer very quickly that can use some of the self-service ways, they're going to get a faster response. I think that also links to, again, customer satisfaction very much links to improved resolution rates. So actually, were we able to, first point of contact, to be able to resolve that issue, or that whatever that subject matter was for the customer. And that's what the customer wants. They want that faster resolution. They want to be able to make sure that it's not a repeat of what happened before, that we really understood this particular scenario with all of the background that we know, and we're able to respond and give a better resolution so that the customer is ultimately more satisfied. Um,
Wonderful. Okay, well, I think we're out of time, unfortunately. But no, thank you both for joining us today on the Digital Lounge. We no doubt you'll be back soon, because we are going to be talking about AI use cases in housing in the near future. So we'll dive even further into that field of AI. So, Kira, Ollie, thank you for joining me. So that's it for today. If you are interested in learning more about a digital contact centre for your housing institution, go to crimson.co.uk and get in contact with us there. There's buttons all over our site for booking a quick discovery call. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about proof of concept funding from Microsoft. We have a number of workshops that can help you identify maybe how you go on that journey as well. So lots to discover there. Thank you very much for listening. As I say, our next show, likely, certainly in the housing arena, is going to be around AI use cases. If you like what you are hearing on the show, or if not, leave a comment we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you, and let us know what you'd like to hear as well. We're always looking for new topics to discuss too. In the meantime, we'll call it a day, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.